Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today, how to have a less stressful day. And this morning I've done a little survey on social media and the results are still coming in, but what I've already noticed is two themes that are coming through quite strongly. So I'm going to talk around those in terms of how to have a less stressful day. So the first one is the sheer volume of work that people have to do. Now, I am not in denial of the amount of work that people feel they need to do, but there's lots of things that if we see a little bit more around this subject, we can have a nicer experience and still have a lot of things to do. So I was a primary school head teacher, and back then I had a lot of things to do, and I wish I'd known what I know now, because I think I probably wouldn't have ended up quite so burnt out as I did. But also now, as a busy business owner, I have a lot of things to do. I have a lot of tasks to complete, people to speak to, emails, LinkedIn inbox, other places inbox, just messages to deal with, people to deal with, things to do, as we all have. And of course, we're talking about work today, because it is such a big part of our lives. And if we have a stressful experience at work, not only is that a big part of our life anyway, but it does tend to spill out into the rest of our lives. Now, there is no denying that you might have a list that is as long as your arm of things that you think you need to get done. So first of all, if you are a busy business owner, do you actually need to do all of those things? Like on a practical level, how much of it needs to be done, or how much of it is that urgent? That's worth just noticing, because it's the idea that it all needs to be done now that creates the feeling of overwhelm and therefore the feeling of stress. And it's even the same if you're working for somebody else and you have deadlines to meet and things to get done. You really work best when you're focusing on one thing at once. Just one thing at once. That's all you've got to do, really, is focus on that one thing at once. And the reason why we feel stressed when we've got a longer list of things to do, more than one thing to do, is that we think we've got to do it all now. And what that does is not only take our mind away from the thing that actually is in front of us, so then we don't work as efficiently, we don't work as well, but it also can make us procrastinate, because we're focusing on this one thing, we're trying to get this one thing done, but our mind keeps shooting off to the other things that we think we're supposed to be doing and getting distracted. And then we're not as productive in the thing that we're focusing on. Let's just call that the one thing. There is a good book actually called The One Thing. It's all about this, focusing on one thing at a time. So it's the fact that it's not the fact that we have all those things to do. It's the fact that we're thinking about the things that we have to do that makes us feel stressed. It's not true that it is the list of things, because I guarantee that if you really did become very present by whatever means makes sense to you, you might choose to do some mindfulness techniques or just find other ways to become more focused in the moment. If you weren't thinking about the list of other things you've got to do, you would not feel as stressed. That's just fundamentally true. And that's true about you, and it's true about every other human being on the planet. We do not experience the stress of a long to-do list unless we're thinking about a long to-do list. It just doesn't work that way. So whatever it takes, I suppose, for you to bring yourself into the present moment, and it doesn't have to be much. For me, I often notice a feeling of urgency building, a feeling of a kind of, oh, I've got to get this done, kind of almost jittery feeling. Now, I know now that feeling is my body letting me know that I've got urgent, I call it urgent thinking, a feeling of urgency that comes from my urgent thinking. Now, I don't know about you, but if somebody, told me, oh, this is how you know you've got urgent thinking, and when you've got urgent thinking, you're not functioning at your best, which I'm sure we all know anyway, then I would probably be really grateful for that, and it would cause me to stop. Now, lucky you and I, we have that system, and it's our feeling state. If you're feeling rushed up, panicky, urgent, then that's letting you know that you've got rushed up, panicky, urgent thinking. And that's really helpful, because we don't act well from thinking like that, do we? And once we realise that we have that kind of thinking, we might choose not to act, or we might choose to act in a different way, or take a moment to stop and just give ourselves a chance to settle back into the moment. So all the time your system is trying to guide you back to having a less stressful day. It's your system is built for that. It's built to settle you back down to a calm place, which is where we all work best from. So that's one of the things that's come out so far in the survey that I've done. And the other thing is people. And this one makes me laugh, because we all believe all the time, don't we? And I still do it right now with all sorts of people close to me, but mostly my fiance Bruce. He gets the brunt of it, that my feelings are coming from other people. They're not. They're just not. And when you really start to see this, even if people are doing really horrible things around you, and trust me, I have some people in my life who do really unpleasant, not nice things, when you realize that your feelings are not coming from them, you are free. You are free of being a victim. You are free of that being shunted about, what seems to be being shunted about by other people's behaviour and what mood they're in. You are free, and that is amazing. And I've got a really, really recent example that my fiance and I, as you can probably see if you're watching this, we're in our motorhome at the moment, and we were reversing very carefully into a little car park last night where we were going to stay. And a car, literally, as we were reversing, zoomed round us, but I suspect due to impatience, zoomed round us and parked in the space that we were just about to reverse into, and then proceeded to just sit there on his phone while we then struggled across I had to get out and direct the van in all the mud and the dark. It was not pleasant. And just like we were both like really flabbergasted. But I think I noticed that my reaction was less angry and more just utterly amused or bemused by, wow, what is it? What's the thinking there that has somebody do that, And by this morning, it was kind of like, oh, wasn't it interesting that bloke did that? And maybe he was trying to take a call and he just kind of panicked. Urgent thinking. Didn't know he had urgent thinking. Thought he needed to get into a parking space fast, and off he went. Anyway, I didn't get as embroiled in that as I used to. It's still there, but it's not as energy wasting is the phrase that comes to mind. It's not as energy wasting as it used to be. I don't stay with it as long as I used to, which is really great. So, people, I mean, at work, if you were in a workplace with other people, then, notice how your feelings about that person fluctuate throughout the day. They can be doing the same kind of behaviour, and sometimes you feel stressed about it, and sometimes you're like, oh, there they go again, kind of thing. Notice how, and this is about getting curious, notice how, their behaviour seems to be making you feel stressed, but doesn't seem to really be bothering anybody else. Notice that when you're tired and in a low mood and not feeling so good, that the whole thing seems worse, or their whole thing of how they are seems worse. Now, those are really great indications, because if the stress was coming directly from this other person's behaviour, then we would feel the same way about it all the time, and everybody else would have exactly the same reaction. On a bigger picture, let's take the decisions of the government. Same kind of thing. Well, if the decisions of the government made people stressed, then everybody would be in the same position. Everybody would have the same amount of stress. Everybody would be in the same state of mind. And they're not, are they? Some people are just not bothered about it, and others are really very bothered. So those are two things today that hopefully, and all we're doing here is just seeing it differently. And it is by seeing it differently, not by doing lots of extra things, that you can have a less stressful day, perhaps, than you are having at the moment on a regular basis. So later on in the sessions throughout this week, I will be looking more at stress. It's a big focus for this month for me. So if you've got anything you want me to talk about, please do let me know, and that'd be really good fun, because I love to talk about things people want to hear about. So I hope you don't have a stressful day. I hope you have a lovely day. Lots of love.
Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.